Ladies and gentlemen, Seahawks and football fans everywhere, a very warm welcome back to the We Talk Seahawks podcast. I hope you're all doing well. This LSD trip of a season gets even more stupid. Not that I would know what an LSD trip feels like, Mum and Dad, just as a disclaimer. But I tell you what, there's a song by Elvis Presley or UB40, whichever version you prefer, that goes a little bit something like this. And join in at home or wherever you are listening to this if you know the words. Obviously not if you're at a funeral or in a library, don't join in. But if you're in a place where you can join in, because this is how I'm feeling about the Seahawks. And it goes a little bit something like this, Josh and Pez. Wise men say only fools
Just fucking
rush
stop, please.
in. No, finishing.
Please stop. Please stop.
Care the hell.
Oh, God. We've lost all our listenership already.
With you.
That phone screen's cracked.
Your phone screen's cracked. It was that good. We're going to get copyrighted for that because it sounded so much like it.
On behalf of the whole pod, well, me and Pez, we'd like to apologise for James. That was awful. Tragic.
Yeah, uncultured.
Yeah.
You never heard good music. You never heard good music, then have you?
I used to be a DJ, mate. I've heard plenty, but there was always sung better than that.
Well, UB40 is not really on the DJ mix list, is it? So
it should be.
It should be.
Red wine. Anyway.
Here he goes. Yeah,
right,
I know, mate.
David, can you tell
we're all podcast, lads?
I know we're all a bit giddy. Well, I'm a bit giddy anyway because we're 4-3. We've got the Giants coming up this week. It's the only game in the NFL that two winning teams are playing each other. Could you believe that would be the Seahawks and the Giants coming into week, whatever we're in now, week 8? So 37-23 at SoFi Stadium against the Chargers with Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, all these guys. We've just gone in there and beaten the Chargers 37-20. Like, what is going on? This season's mental, and I love it. And I haven't stopped smiling since the end of that game. I'm in la la land, and I don't want it to come down. Positive, Pez. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Except for my internet not working, so I might be in and out. But other than that, yeah, that game was fun.
It was all right, wasn't it?
Exciting. Even when it was 17-14, I was on my sofa watching it, and I was just like, I'm not even worried. The way the defense was showing, because essentially it was the offensive mistakes, but the way the defense, it reminded me of a game where I just knew it in my head. I was just like, the Chargers aren't getting back in this. Like in our Discord, everyone was like, oh, here we go. They're coming back. This is it. We're going to get Trouts, Herbert's this, Herbert's that. People just need to realise that Justin Herbert should have been sat for the rest of the season because he's that injured. He is in severe pain. I said, was it on the last pod I said, or did I say it to you two in the chat? I think it was the last pod where I said that if this defense turns up like it did against the Cardinals, we'll beat him because Justin Herbert doesn't want to know. He really doesn't want to know.
I think it was on this podcast. Yeah, you're right.
It was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And amazing. But I've kind of already started the pod without even introducing Josh.
Well, we can.
How we doing?
Let's introduce him. How are you doing, Josh?
I got carried away.
I'm brilliant, lads. Yeah, I'm child free for the first time, and I don't know when.
Nice.
So I haven't got to try and speak in hushed tones, which is good because I'm so excited to talk about this game. I might get a little bit loud, a little bit leery. I've got my beers on the go as well. So, drinking on a school night, especially for the pod.
Is it for medicinal reasons this week, or is it just purely recreational this week?
It's purely for joy.
Oh, is it?
I'm drinking for fun because I haven't got to be woken up at 5:30 in the morning. Although I may have to wake up early anyway because I've got a big business meeting, but doesn't matter. Let's get on with the pod.
Doesn't matter. We had a big business meeting last week and we took care of it in LA. Have you got a stat for us about winning in LA, Pez, by the way?
Yes, I had a look, and as far as I'm aware, I'm right, but I've not heard anyone else say it, so I may have missed the game. But as far as I'm aware, since Pete Carroll has been in charge of the Seahawks, except for the preseason before people start looking and coming at me, when a game that means something, we have never won in LA in Pete Carroll's reign.
Really?
Now,
in SoFi, we never won.
Oh, it's SoFi.
Now,
SoFi's only about 2 years old.
No, but LA.
Oh.
We've never won. won in the Pete and Russ era. And I've always been like, I wonder which one is the bad egg. Well, we saw Russ go to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw us go to LA. So we kind of know who's jinxed in LA. And it clearly isn't us.
I think this season's showing in who's the bad egg so far, isn't it?
He's looking like a bit of an egg, isn't he?
Yeah.
Let's not get onto a road.
No, because the alarm will going to come out
here anymore.
Pez. Yeah,
he's dead. Let's leave him. Let's leave him to rot. Yeah. Let's leave him to rot in hell. But anyway, back onto us, because that's what matters. Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, anyone who's listening who wants to double check that, I am pretty sure and adamant that definitely so far we've never won, but I'm pretty sure in the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson era, we've never won an LA.
There you go.
Never.
There you go. There was who would have thought it would have been this season led by Geno Smith that curse would be broken. Unbelievable. So of course we're going to talk about the aforementioned Geno Smith. We've got to talk about him every single week. This guy, man.
Geno.
We're going to start with Geno. We'll get to Ken Walker, Marquise Goodwin. Then we'll get to the defense, the defensive line again, the corners. Ryan Neal absolutely balling. Then we'll pose the question, can we actually win the NFC West now as a 4-3 team, beating the Chargers at LA? I can't believe I'm asking this question on the podcast, but here we go. And then we'll get to some of your questions. And, of course, positive Pez to round off the podcast. Should we start with the main man?
But before we start, I've just got some general stats for the listeners to get excited for.
Oh, go on then. We'll just
this one. Gushfest. So, the Seahawks are 5th in the NFL in scoring. That's 2nd in the NFC, averaging 26.1 points per game. I hope I've got these in a good order, or else it won't flow as nice as I thought. The Seahawks offense scored 17 and 0 points in their first 2 games, 8.5 points per game. They've scored 143 in the 5 games since, an average of 28.5 points per game.
Right.
The Seahawks are the highest scoring team in the NFL over the last 5 weeks of the season, even better than Kansas City, who just scored 44 on the weekend against the 49ers. What was just the icing on the cake for this weekend. The Seahawks, and this one, interestingly, this one kind of blew my mind a little bit for how this offense has been. The Seahawks are 4th in the NFL in 3rd down efficiency at 45.6% conversion rate.
That was
They're also tied 2nd in the NFL in yards per play at 6.3, the same as Kansas City. Buffalo are only ahead of them by 0.3.
Right.
So if you want to really get carried away with yourself, and you're looking at, because there is fans out there who want to look Super Bowl wise, we're keeping it with 2 of the powerhouses. If you want to get carried away with yourself,
we are.
And
those 2 powerhouses are in the AFC.
Do you know what? Fuck it. These aren't offensive, but these were just great stats as well. The Seahawks sacked Justin Herbert 3 times, a season high, by a Chargers offense. The Seahawks held Justin Herbert to a 26.8 QBR, which is the lowest of the year and the lowest in his last 16 games.
So basically, Pez,
Seahawks have forced 2 turnovers in 5 straight games. In fact, it's 2 turnovers in every game but 1 this season.
Quick, someone put the cork back on the bottle. Put the genie back in. Pez is going off now. There's far too many stats, Pez.
He needs to go have a lie down.
Have a lie down.
All you Pete Carroll lovers who love his methodology of running the football. The Seahawks have rushed 736 yards in the last 4 weeks. That's 184 yards per game. And you know why? And we're going to get onto him, and it's going to be exciting. And we're going to get fucking hyper loud and excitable. And I'm going to leave it there.
I think Pez, I'm not sure, but I think Pez has come down with a rare condition of statolitis. I don't know, because he's just spewing them out all over the place here. I think what he's trying to say is Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks are pretty good this season. Geno Smith, right? Let's start with the main man. Just another game, another example of Geno Smith, for me, showing that other side to his game that we talked about last week of that mental strength, that mental fortitude. Again, faced adversity in this game. That early interception, was it his fault? Perhaps not. Bit on Lockett, bit underthrown. Good play by the Chargers defensive backs as well. So I don't think you can put that play completely on Geno, but of course it goes on his stat line, so it's an early interception. Pretty close game for a little while. Obviously it's in LA, as Pez has talked about, that curse. And he made the plays again when he needed to. Big plays, big moments in the game. Tyler Lockett after that questionable Austin Blythe false start penalty on that 3rd down and long, getting it into Tyler Lockett. Just key throws like that, key plays facing the blitz, which has been something of a problem for Geno his entire career, throwing against the blitz. He's just showing that again, all this work, all this time. I think it was Rich Eisen on the Rich Eisen show that I was watching today made an interesting point about. I think Geno Smith would probably be offended if he wouldn't come back Player of the Year, because in his eyes, he hasn't come back from anything.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, don't call it a comeback.
Been here for years.
He's been here for years. He's been ready, and now he's just getting a shot. Like, what has he come back? He hasn't been injured. He hasn't, nothing like that. He's just now getting his chance to shine. And yet again, the man takes his chance and he's shining again. And we're 4-3, and so much of that is down to Geno. Josh, I'm running out of ways, and I don't want to be repetitive on this podcast, but for as long as Geno Smith continues to play like this, I don't know how else to start this podcast. So please talk to me about Geno Smith again. I don't even know what to say about this guy at this point.
I'd just like to vent some frustration. I know he'll never listen to this podcast, but Colin Cowherd was talking about his tiers of NFL QBs. There's tier 1, and then there's tier 2, and then there's all the rest. Now, I looked at all of those in tier 2 and thought 80% of you are not playing as good as Geno. Even in tier 1, Geno, stat-wise, was running with that crew. And I think that just goes to show the mainstream media and critics still haven't got the head around the fact that he's doing really well. There's still that stigma that Geno Smith is Geno Smith. Geno's gonna Geno. Geno is a different Geno to what he was when he was starting years ago. And I was guilty of saying he wouldn't make it, but now I am a Geno truther. I'm a believer now, because every game I'm coming into this waiting for him to have a characteristic cock up. But he doesn't. I mean, what he didn't throw for, was it 200 and what was it? 210 yards is what he threw for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that by no means are they MVP world-beating yardage at all. They're not. It's not there. It's not like a 400-yard game. But when you look at his completion percentage or his completions, he completed 20 out of 27 throws, 2 touchdowns
against that Chargers defense as well. I mean,
yeah, he's just come in, and I think he's just reevaluated. I mean, what his passer rating or QB rating was 105.5. QBR was 59.7. But he's come in, he's reevaluated who he is as a player and what he needs to do to succeed, and that's what good players do. They don't just rest on the laurels and go, this is the player I am, and this is the player I'll always be. He's come in, gone, I need to be what Pete wants. I need to be a possession quarterback who doesn't make silly throws, although there's what that one to Noah Fant's triple coverage made my bum squeak.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just been the picture of consistency and efficiency. The drives he's putting together, the throws he's putting together, the heart he's showing, and that was evident when he argued with the ref, and Pete had to do his little calm it down, and Geno just calmed it down, channeled all that anger into that drive, and then hit Lockett for that first down.
Brilliant.
I can't say anything more. He's just been he's blown me away this season, and I never anticipated in my years of following the NFL saying I am blown away by Geno Smith.
Pez, are you blown away by Geno Smith again? I mean, have you got any more words to add on this guy? Because I don't even know, man.
No, not really. He's doing He's just, yeah. There's not much more to say about him. It's just week in, week out. Do you know what it is now? It's almost like you're waiting to see a game go against him.
Yeah.
You're waiting to see when the chips are down. Like you almost like now, like, right, let's see what let's put another challenge in front of him. Like, let's see what Aaron Donald can do to him.
Yeah.
But on kind of a side note, you got someone put it on Twitter, and I thought, do you know what? This guy doesn't get enough love. That and Andy Dickerson.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he took over the O-line coaching, I think he officially got given it in the off season, but he started doing it at the back end of last year, and that's when Penny started breaking all his big runs. And
we got rid of Scolari, didn't we?
Yeah, but we got rid of Scolari in the off season, didn't we? Because what this guy, he was a beat reporter, and he was saying, like, what people may not realize is Andy Dickerson was basically doing what he's doing now at the end of last season. Like, Pete was already getting him to integrate, and Cross and Abe were his guys who he wanted them to, and they went and got them, and look how good they are. Like, on the side note, because I can't really say much more about Geno Smith.
I just love how they're scheming this offense around, like they're making it so simple for him. Like the tight end usage, I can't remember if it was on the NFL coverage, like broadcast, but I heard it mentioned somewhere this week that, and a reminder that Shane Waldron was a tight ends coach before in LA, and it's quite clear that he knows how to get tight ends involved in an offense because, like I said earlier on this pod, I think Will Dissly's been arguably the most beneficial recipient of this Geno Smith play because he looks like the Will Dissly that we gave that big, I think, was it 2 year, $16 million contract to, that we all
$8 million a year,
yeah, that we all turned our noses up at the start of free agency. That looks like a great deal now because he's so involved in the offense. I mean, Colby Parkinson, again, finally, he's having a breakout year that we've been predicting on this podcast for 2 years, and finally it's happening. Noah Fant, I mean, you can see he's a good player. I think whether he's just learning and feeling his way around the playbook a bit, I don't know, but he's getting the least amount of big plays and usage out the tight ends, but he's still there making plays. I just so really shout out to Shane Waldron as well as much to Geno Smith, because this is the best set of games that I've seen offensively play called by a Seattle team in quite a long time. So shout out to Shane Waldron, because I think he's played a big part in how Geno Smith is looking as well. If we've got no further words on Geno, have you got some, Pez?
You got a stat?
Has he got a stat? He's got a stat.
Of course you have.
This is from our listeners. This is from one of our listeners who, after my Angry Geno excites me tweet, he gave me a little stat. What I thought has to give him a shout out. I'm gonna butcher his name here.
Do you want me to say it? Because I said it last week.
Yes, go on, Josh.
It's Ledio Hamati.
Yeah. And he said this is not just another season for Geno. The boy is on a revenge mission. Seattle plays the Chargers, who he used to play for. But all these three teams, Geno once played for and was told he's not good enough. The Chargers, he's beat them. The Giants next week, ? The Jets at week 17, ? And that game is going to mean so much to him.
Yeah.
Because they drafted him. They essentially, because then they drafted him and then they brought that Sanchez in, didn't they? Basically saying,
butt fumble. Mark Sanchez.
You're not good enough. But you listen to that broadcast, mate, and that Mark Sanchez is like Geno's biggest fan. He's like, I'm the only one who's been telling everyone ever since I've trained with him at the Jets that he is worth like the draft capital he got drafted at. He's just not showing what he's showing on the training field for whatever reason. He said, but everything you see now is what I saw in Geno all them years ago. It's just took him, but for me, it's what I said on a couple of pods ago with him. Comparing to our football, and he is like that midfielder who hits their prime at around 30, like the late 20s, early 30s mark, and that's the best years of their career. And that's just seems what Geno's doing. It's took him all this time, and say what we want about Russ and about the ongoings about it. You can see in his play, he's picked some things up from Russ, but you're also seeing what quarterback of good stature can do with them skills. What's great at the end of the day. And I'm still not apologising to him.
Unapologetic.
Prove me wrong, Geno. Win me a Super Bowl.
Would you say that Geno is the Mark Noble of the NFL? A man who's a cult hero for one team and really started to blossom towards the end of his career. He's Mark Noble. Yeah. For any of you folks that don't know who Mark Noble is, he is a West Ham legend. I'm not even a West Ham fan, but even I'll say that. But yeah, anyway, there you go. Geno Smith, Mark Noble of the NFL.
Do you know who's about to be a Seahawks legend? Ken Walker. Shall we get to this kid? I'll tell you what, Pez, because I have to start with you on Ken, because I know you just won't be able to contain yourself, you little school child. My God, running backs don't matter, do they? What a waste of a pick. What an awful pick. Why would we do this? I mean, this kid, that touchdown run, how he got vertical that quick by going that far around, like he went so wide and so long to go that quick. What was it, 22 mile an hour? I think he was clocked at. I mean,
22.08 or 09, like the fastest this season, or the fastest rusher this season.
These rookies, man. But Ken Walker, I mean, what was it, 168-yard game rushing? Yeah, 168 yards.
184, wasn't it? Was it 168?
168 I've got on 23 carries. Yeah, 7.3 average, 2 touchdowns. Pez, please feel free again for your. I have my weekly gush fest on Tariq Woolen. Might not be as gushy this week because he didn't get an interception, but you can have your one on Ken Walker, mate, because this lad is special.
Before we start on Ken, I think you've got a lot of gushing to do over Woolen, because do you know what? Just a quick one on this. Wow, he didn't get a pick. He didn't do any special plays. But do you know what he proved to me this game? What a little question mark in my head is, can he actually do what a cornerback needs to do to sustain? That's coverage. That's locking it down. And I'll add into what you're going to talk about him, but I was very impressed by that man. Not as impressed as fucking my boy. Like
Kenny Walker.
I am on a mission.
Hang on. Wasn't Jordan Brooks your?
You cheating? Jordan Brooks is my boy. No. Jordan Brooks is my boy, but he's a vet now. Like he knows.
Ken Walker's
he knows.
Right.
He knows the love I've got for him. Like Jordan Brooks is up here. He's God tier. Ken is nearly level to him. I can have 2 up there. I can have 2. Kobe's just underneath him. Kobe's underneath him, and it's going to be a tripod up there in a minute.
The original thruple.
But honestly, man, that touchdown run was the icing on the cake, and I swear to fucking high heaven, if he makes one mistake and Pete pulls him out for a significant drive, like, sorry, DJ Dallas, I am really sorry. You did some great runs. Still love you too. But he makes one mistake and then you don't see him again for too many drives. Mm-hmm. If Pete does that again, I'm going to nick my brother's air miles, fly to Seattle, and slap him across the face with wet cod. Because I am sick of it. He keeps doing it, and I want him to stop it. It might happen. It could happen. But look what happens. Look how great he is. And do you know what, Josh? We said about he's going to be the best rookie running back. And unfortunately, Breece Hall went down because them two, Breece had an advantage. Mm-hmm. Don't forget Dameon Pierce is there. I'm not disregarding Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce is a level below. I'm sorry. It was always these two at the top.
Yeah. So these two coming out of the draft, it's always going to be these two, right? And it's unfortunate, Breece, but he had a head start. But I do not give a shite what anyone says. The way Ken is producing at this moment in time, he is an unstoppable force. Mm-hmm. It's been 3 games now. I've seen defenders try and take him down, and they bounce off him. Mm. Do you know what? This is the first game I actually saw a defender hit him backwards. And I was shocked by that because I just thought he was an indestructible machine. But no, joking, all jokes aside, but it blows my freaking mind. Like,
how was he
what
that
can do.
quick and that powerful? Like that one way, like hopped
Have you
through
seen
the
his legs?
offensive line as well.
Well, that was beautiful. I've mentioned his footwork. Sorry, Pez, you can have this back in a sec. But that one where the first touchdown, where he cut and the little hop that he made through the line to get through that was just his footwork is on point. He is a coach's wet dream to have that natural footwork like that. It's hard to coach into someone, but when you've just got it and it's just a natural reaction, beautiful.
Do you know what the best thing about it is? Do you know the best thing he did in that game? Like something I appreciate. I loved it. Loved every second of it. It was none of his runs, not his touchdown run. It beats all that. It's the fact that, we said it in the last pod, he comes across very polite and very pleasant, very rookie-ish, very like, oh, hi guys. Hi, I'm just here to play. Oh. And then Khalil Mack comes over, one of the most scariest linebackers. And he goes, nah, do you know what? I'm sick of you guys probably talking shit to me, pushing me over, trying to rough me up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to grab your face mask. I'm going to wrap you around like a doll. And I'm going to show you. And I'm going to go toe to toe with you. And I was just like, he's either going to get his head taken off now, or they're going to kind of like step back a little bit, because he's always been nicey nice. Right, I've been knocked down, I've done this. But I noticed the Chargers defenders were getting him down and they were like chirping him. They were probably, tackling him and staying on him a bit too long, trying to drain that weight out. And Khalil Mack must have done something to him, because I've not seen him switch like that before. And he was lit. He was fuming. I was like, that is the best part of this game.
And again, he didn't let it get to his head, didn't affect his performance. And if anything, because as a rookie, what is he, 22? Khalil Mack doing that to you, you're getting hot-headed. That might get to your head. That might spoil your performance. With Ken, he was even better after that. Yeah. After that incident, didn't let it get to him. Said, you know what, I am going to show you guys. I'm going to show you vets. I'm here. I'm going to be here for a long time. You're going to have to put up with tackling me, because I'm better than you, and I'm going to run through you. And I love this kid, man. Awesome pick.
Do you know what's going to be interesting this next week is Saquon versus Ken.
Yeah, and I'm not great,
like, we were just talking, about Brees versus Ken, and I got too carried away with myself from the point I was going to go on to. Do you know, with him, I think by the bye week, so I'm giving him 3 more games. I think by the end of the bye week, like by the time we go into the bye week, he's going to be talked about as not just the best rookie running back, but I'm calling that he's going to be talked about in like the top 6 running backs in the league. Because name who can touch him. The only way people can get to him is if this old line breaks apart. But the one thing they've looked really solid in is the run game. Like, there's been a couple of plays that have broken down and he's been thingy, but that's bound to happen in the NFL. Look at Saquon Barkley against the Jags. He was a no-go on the ground. So I'm not asked about them. I don't know what defense stops him. I genuinely don't know what defense would stop him. The only defense I can see that could stop him is someone like the Bills. I
mean, it's so hard to stop. I mean, those cut. I don't care who you are. I mean, a cut like that from Ken Walker, it's scientifically impossible. You can't do it to stop him at certain times. He has that kind of cut move that. Sorry, but he kind of has that cut move like Penny. Penny can show that little cut, but I think Ken takes it to another level. Go on, Pez.
Sorry. One thing that scares me about him a little bit is, do you know, because he's a Saquon Barkley. He is a Saquon Barkley. He's dancing. Think of Saquon Barkley in his rookie year. Dancing, always looking at going to the house. He looks like a thick-set guy. Like, his legs are his base is so solid. I just get concerned. You know what I mean? It worries me, with injuries and things like that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of concerns me, but that's just from previous history, kind of concerns. But he's indestructible, and he's
just enjoy him so long as he's healthy. Just enjoy this kid, because I can't wait to watch him every week.
Got some stats for you,
as he always
does. Couldn't leave my boy without some stats. Sweet. Statalitis. Rocky Ken Walker is the only player in the NFL with 2+ runs over 60 yards this season. These ones are a bit all over the place, but the 265 yards by Ken Walker is the most by any Seahawks rookie running back in the first 2 starts. Kurt Warner was the previous high with 221 in 1983. The Seahawks lead the NFL at 5.5 yards per rush. Ken Walker's last 3 games, 52 rushes, 353 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Just so if anyone didn't hear that, that was in 3 games. We talked about how fast he ran, and then let me find this one. What I saw. Here we are. Rushing yards in weeks 6 and 7. There's 4 people. There's Ken Walker at 265 yards. There's Kenneth Walker at 200 yards after contact. Then there's Travis Etienne at 200 yards and Saquon Barkley at 193.
Kid is special. Before we leave the offense, there's another guy that I want to talk about, and I think deserves a mention, especially this week. I'm pretty happy again because if you've listened to our hot takes pod, I called about this guy's involvement. I said this guy would be wide receiver 3 in the slot. Marquise Goodwin, the guy, he's not a fancy name. He's bounced around the league. Obviously, as we touched about in that hot takes pod, had a few personal problems as well, family issues that he's gone through. But I tell you what, this guy, as Pete Carroll raved about all off-season, all training camp, he's still so explosive. You can see it. He's track speed. He was a former US athlete, Olympic athlete. And what I love about him is every time his number is called, he makes the play. He's one of those players that I know if I'm in a certain situation, I call number 11, Marquise Goodwin, we need you on this play. He goes in, he makes the play every time. And those 2 touchdown catches, great, both great throws by Geno, but and as well, shout out to the celebrations because I loved both the celebrations as well. Marquise Goodwin, we all love a Seahawks celebration. We've got quite good at them in recent years, and Marquise Goodwin has added his name into that list as well. But I just think he deserves a shout out. He's played well all season. I think he's got about 67 yards receiving. Yeah, 67 yards receiving. Led our receivers against the Chargers quite comfortably as well. The next highest was Tyler Lockett and Will Dissly, both on 45. Marquise there on 67 on just 4 receptions, a 16.8 average, and the 2 touchdowns. I mean, the guy, like I just said, I just love players who you can just lean on, depend upon. When his number's called, he'll go and make a play. And shout out Marquise Goodwin because those 2 touchdown catches were so important, so big, and yeah, I like I said, I think shout out to Eskridge as well because I think his blocking was excellent again against the Chargers. Tried to get him involved again in the passing game, didn't really work out. But the kid,
apart from that one, like was it OPI, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was OPI, and he got banged up as well with that hit that looked a little bit scary at the time. Thankfully, he's all right from that.
Yeah.
Especially with someone like Eskridge, we don't like to see him taking hits to the head. But even though he knows he's banged up, I love his effort on the plays. He's not afraid to go and block. He puts his body in harm's way, and you've got to respect a kid like that as well. So, any words on Marquise Goodwin on his play?
I think it was brilliant. I mean, we were, you said in preseason in the hot takes episode, he'll be wide receiver 3. I was skeptical because I thought they'd use D. Eskridge a bit more, but I think D just doesn't seem to have the concentration that a vet like Goodwin has. So, I mean, yeah, I've just been looking at Goodwin's stats over the past few years. So he's never, right, so his biggest year for receptions was 2017 with San Fran with 56 off 105 targets, 900 odd yards, 962 yards. Scored 2 touchdowns. His biggest year for touchdowns was 2018 with San Fran with 4 touchdowns receiving. He's already got 146 yards of 15 receptions and 2 touchdowns for us this season.
There you go.
Now, if that is not a viable third, like wide receiver 3, I don't know what is. He impressed me so much. The separation, I felt really bad for JC Jackson because it was just a matter of he planted his foot the complete wrong way. and that just blew out his knee. I was chatting to some Americans, hopefully American listeners or other podcast hosts after the game on a Twitter space, and I will rant and rave about these pitches, or fields as they're called in the US, these hybrid, or what we call 3G over here. That they're awful. They're injury makers. They're career enders. Just you look at the amount of injuries that happen in this game. DK going out with JC Jackson and everyone else. It's sickening, but then again, it allows for really quick receivers to get some really quick releases. And when you've got someone like Marquise Goodwin, who I think he was triple jump or long jump, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's short burst speed straight off. He's going to get separation, and that's exactly what I did with Jackson. Jackson, it was one of those when he fell down, I thought he's done the oh no, if I fall down and pretend to be injured, that will make up for the fact that I've completely blown this coverage and he's got past me. But no, he's genuinely injured. But the fact that the two TDs, one right in the corner of the end zone where he had to turn and catch, and then the other where he had to high point that ball, and he's only about 5'9", 5'10". He's sub 6 foot.
Yeah.
And for him to jump that high to catch that ball and come down with it, amazing. I was really, really impressed. I can't take it away from him. He was my surprise of this game. I didn't expect him to get as many targets or make as bigger impact as he did. I thought after that first TD that was going to be him, but no, he just kept coming. Fantastic. Really, really happy with that.
Yeah, he's not as tall as David Moore, but you know what? He reminds me of David Moore when he was with the Seahawks. Again, not heavily included in the offense, but whenever we sort of called on David Moore, he made a play, and Marquise Goodwin is doing the same in this offense. So yeah, any further words on the offense before we move to the defensive side of the ball?
Can we just say the O-line again?
Yeah.
Pez said it earlier. Andy Dixon's had a massive hand. I mean, there were two occasions where I thought the O-line really let Geno down, and that was one where the left side of the pocket just completely collapsed on Geno. There was nowhere he could go because he was looking on his reads to the right of the field, so the left side just buckled all the way around him on his back. And then when Jake Curhan came in, I think he was not ready to play guard, and he just got absolutely mullered, and just sort of just run past. If I'm right, I think he was spun past. Apart from that, the O-line they just continue to deliver these tackles. Yeah, every game I get closer and closer to buying a player jersey, and it's going to be Abe Lucas. But with that being said, I had a conversation with someone over Twitter, and forgive me, I can't remember their name, but they were talking about Austin Blythe and that he's a mediocre center. He's proven it again. Rah, rah, rah. Now, we as Seahawks fans have been through some shockingly shit centers.
Yes.
In the last few years, Ethan Posich,
Carl Fuller.
Carl Fuller, and who was before them?
It was Justin Britt, who was all right. He was the
Britt
last
as
good
well.
one, I think. Really, pretty much.
He was all right.
Yeah.
Well, I think Blythe's come in and he has solidified that O-line. But he's not a world beater. He's not the best in the league by any means, but he's an upgrade. And having that veteran presence when you've got people like D-Lou, who, let's not forget, is still quite young. You've got Phil Haynes, who isn't a full-time starter. Jake Curhan, after that one real issue, it started to solidify. The tackles look brilliant. I'd like to say just a big high five there to Austin Blythe. Fair play to you, sir. And fuck the haters.
Any further words on the offense, Pez?
I've got to agree with Josh there. Great point to bring up because I forgot about it. But do you know what Austin Blythe brings? He brings leadership and solidarity to that line. Might not be the best. Might not be the best center in the league. He might not be, like you said, a world beater. But for anyone who's don't know who he is or what he does, go and watch his mic'd up from the Cardinals game.
Yeah.
Go and watch his mic'd up and just see how involved he is. Because he might not be a captain, but by far one of the most vocal leaders on that offense. He really is. He knows everything. He's on the sideline. He's talking he's mic'd up. He's talking defense. He's spotting like obviously being an offensive guy, he's spotting what like the offense is doing. And he's shouting over on the field like, "Oh, such and such," and then he's in the offense. He's like, "Oh, look here, him there, that there, that there." I honestly think he makes Geno's life a lot more easy than we realise.
Yeah,
he really does.
You can see at the line of scrimmage that they have quite a good relationship, don't they, Geno and Austin? But you can see they're always talking to each other. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going a little bit underappreciated.
In the mic'd up as well, I'm sure he goes over to Geno because obviously the offense wasn't that good. He went over to Geno and I swear he just said to him, "Right, come on, Geno." When he's calmed down, get balanced again, essentially just like being a true centre, like your quarterback in centre should be like. Like, look at Brady now, he doesn't have his centre. He absolutely rat ass, like the bottom's falling out of him. Look at Geno, who clearly's got a great relationship with his centre, who buys in to what this club and what Geno's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
They said it for all itself. He might not be a world beater, like Josh said, but you got to look outside the box sometimes. You got to look outside of just the player and what the man brings to the team, because he clearly gives Geno confidence. If you think about it, how many times have we said Geno's like a statue in the pocket? He stays in there too long, doesn't realise the pressure coming on him.
Yeah.
It's because I think he's genuinely got that much confidence in his general in front of him to command that whole line that he can stay in that pocket for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great shout, that Josh. Great shout.
Good shout. Good shout.
Thank you.
This Friday, before we get to the defense, this Friday we've got a brand new segment coming up on the We Talk Seahawks podcast, courtesy of the brainchild of Josh suggesting this. So well done, Josh. It's called We Talk
Mr.
12.
Social Media himself.
Mr. Social Media himself, yeah. Vice
the
President.
social media dictator.
Yes, there you are. It's called We Talk to 12.
He's a tyrant, guys, by the way. We're smiling because we're scared he might shout us now we're on video.
Yes, I'm shaking as I'm going over my phone screen here, my notes, my hands shaking. Did I get this right?
Why do you think I'm nodding my head so much to everything Josh says? Yes.
Not a side effect of statolitis, is it? Right. It's called We Talk to 12s, and basically the MO of it is that we want to hear from you, the fans of the best fans in the NFL. We want to hear from you. It's a dedicated show to you where you can have your platform and your say on your team. Our very first episode is with the absolute legend that is Captain Seahawk. I'm sure if the name isn't familiar, his headwear will certainly be familiar to you. He's picked up on about every Seahawks game by the cameras, especially the home games. So you will have seen him. And Josh got the opportunity to sit down with him for about half an hour and talk about his upbringing and all good stuff, all the sort of intricacies of what goes into making his headwear and just really, really interesting stuff. So we're going to play a little preview of that and in anticipation of it coming out on Friday. So I hope you're looking forward to it, and I hope you're going to give it a listen because it is really worth your time.
It started on in Canada, we call it First Nations, or in America, it's called Native American Reservation. And it's really interesting when people first ask me, like, where are you from? And we've been in the same location for about 20,000 years. So I was born and raised on a reservation. I had to leave. I didn't know why. I said, I'm not going to die here. And I left and I became an airline pilot. I went to an aviation college. And in 1985, when I was hired by United Airlines, I was a DC-10 flight engineer, and this captain says, "Hey, do you want to go to a Seahawk game?" This is in 1985. I'm like, I've never been to one. And some professors at Burke Museum did research on the logo, and lo and behold, the headdress came from my Native American tribe, the Kwakwaka'wakw on Vancouver Island.
In full Captain Seahawk gear to fight someone in LA.
Yeah. I was giving them out. Like the first one I gave to Pete Carroll. That's sitting in his office. Marshawn Lynch has one. It's sitting in his dining room. I gave that to him after the Green Bay game.
And as always, I'm going to do a little shout out for Mr. Brett Davin and the Take 12 podcast. They're running a fantastic package, a VIP package to Germany. for the Bucks game in November. They've just updated their prices on their package, brand new prices, just over about £1,000 for UK fans. It's a fantastic package. If you can get on it, please do. It's massively inclusive. After parties with active and NFL players on bye weeks. You get to hang out with Seahawks players, Seahawks legends like Lofa Tupu and KJ Wright. And
breakfast with them as well.
You get breakfast with them. It's just a fantastic package that you won't find anywhere else. We've been shouting it out for a while on this podcast, and we really do think you should go and get on it, because it is going to be an experience of a lifetime if you can afford it. Just tell them where to go.
So you can either go on 12s in Munich or loferingermany.com. It's also available through Eventbrite. If you've got an account with them, feel free, go on that way. But for what you get, so from what I know, and Brett and Lofa, I apologise if I miss anything out, it's breakfast with Lofa and the players. It's then a coach trip to the game. It's then the game itself. After the game, you then get a coach trip to the VIP after party, which I believe is hosted by the German Seahawkers. There's also a goodie bag with a lanyard, T-shirt, and plenty of other stuff in there. So you get a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah,
especially as tickets are currently over £1,000 by themselves anyway. So
yeah, they sound like hotcakes.
I was about to say to get the cheapest category ticket and most resale, they're like near on £900.
But Pez, if they do get on it and use code WeTalk12, they'll also get 12% off. So it won't even be £200 more. It'll probably be around about that £900 mark. So for the price of a resale ticket, you can get this entire package for practically the same cost with our discount code. So I mean, if you're fancying
that's why you're the gaffer.
That's why I'm the gaffer. I'm not the dictator. I'm
the
gaffer.
You're the man with it. Why am I a dictator?
I didn't start that. That was Pez.
Penis-shaped potato. A dictator. Yeah.
It's a bit feisty. Right, let's get to the defense. Come on. Because we're going to start with the defensive line. As we always do, we work our way back. These guys on the defensive line in the trenches, shout out. We've been waiting and calling on them. Last 2 weeks, they've absolutely stepped up. All of them have. Darrell Taylor again. Poona Ford, most improved player last 2 weeks. He's been excellent, batting down every other Justin Herbert pass this week. I can't remember how many it was, but it was at least 2 or 3 that I think he batted down.
Shelby Harris got one as well.
Shelby Harris got one. Let's go through the sack numbers as well. So Darrell Taylor got 1 sack. Quentin Jefferson got 1 sack. Big Al Woods got 1 sack. And that's all I'm getting for the defensive line.
DT was a strip sack, wasn't it?
It was a strip sack as well.
That bounced so fortunately to him, and yet he still couldn't outpace Justin Herbert.
I didn't think he was that slow.
I didn't realise he was that slow.
All they had to do, if you rewatch it, right, he pulls the ball into his chest with both hands so tight, like, I am not going to fumble this. If he put it in one arm, this I can tell he's not a receiver or someone on the offense, put it in the opposite arm and actually stiff-armed Herbert, then he could have gone for 6. But fair play, he made the really intelligent play of not risking it, just tucking it, running, and then taking the contact when he had to, which was, can't take that away from him. DT, he's getting up there. I said he was my one to watch this season, and he's starting to prove it.
Yeah, man. Like I say, this defensive line, I don't know what it is. I think it potentially being asked to do a little bit less and just get back to basics and play normal football and not overcomplicating it. But something, whatever it is, something has clicked with those guys in the trenches, and they're just playing lights out football at the minute. Anything further to add on the defensive line from either of you?
Big Al Woods. He's just, you would not think he's what? Is he 36 now?
Something like that, yeah.
It's not something you'd think. Like he plays that position like he is a sophomore. He's been in the league for a year, possibly 2. He knows the ropes. He's up to speed now. But he is just in my opinion, of that front front 3 in the defense. He is the energizer. He's the one who puts all the pressure on. The one play where he just grabbed Justin Herbert with one massive meaty paw and just yoinked him back. It was like, nope, and pulled him back. That was peak Al Woods. Beautiful play. Again,
I know Uchenna Nwosu didn't get a sack, but he played really well this week. Again, Boye Mafe continues to impress. Pez, any words on this defensive line?
No, you kind of hit all the main guys, really. I think.
What did you make of Bruce Irvin coming back? From what you saw of him, I know it wasn't much that we saw, but he was out there for a few plays.
Veteran presence now, isn't he? DT came out and said the same thing.
Great flag on the hold. I think he was getting held, but I think again, veteran presence. I think he played it so well because there was another time when Shelby Harris could literally didn't need to play the hold. It's like I think they got off a good chunk yard play with that, but literally the guy had his arm around his neck and wasn't letting him go for any life and money. And I was just like, refs, what are you doing? How is that not a hold? He's literally choking the guy out to stop him getting to Justin Herbert because he beat his guy, and the only thing he can do is use his big tree trunk arm and choke the guy out to stop him. If that's not a flag,
Shelby Harris in a headlock.
Not a great place to be.
Again. Go, do you know what, actually? Talk about the defensive line. Shelby Harris again showing up.
Yeah.
Shelby Harris again showing his presence. And do you know what it is? Josh called him out. Clearly listens to our podcast because he's an educated fella. So he's probably heard and he went, I'm going to fucking show this ex-rugby player Josh what's the crap. I'm going to get down and dirty. But no, I think it's just, I think it's acclamation. I think you can see now, we talked about in our group where the D-line's not being told to do too much. What was it? Someone, did one of you put it in, or was it my brother, where before these last couple of weeks, the D-line was like being told to, instead of do single gap, they were told to do multiple. So it's like a gap and a half or something, some system. Whereas now they're just told to like essentially seek and destroy. And they've clearly got a D-line of seek and destroy, and clearly Clint Hurt, don't forget he's the DC, and we spoke about him being the D-lines coach, he's a D-line man, clearly loves a seek and destroy defensive line because this line in 2 games turnaround has got so much better. Yeah. And again, you're talking about a D-line, what we've been so accustomed to for so many years. You're starting to see the ferocity, and look at Darryl Taylor. To bring Darryl Taylor into it, look 2 games, look how much he's improving. Yep. That strip play was almost identical to the other week. Yeah, that's going to be, I think by the end of the year, he's going to be back up there, recognised as one of the better D linemen, and that's going to be his signature move. What quarterbacks, when they sense DT on their shoulder, they're going to tuck that ball up and take a sack over having that out in the open, because it was a mirror image. It's like Kobe's got his peanuts. Kobe's got his peanut punch. Woolen's just a freak. And DT's got his strip. Wait, he times it so perfectly. Yeah. As soon as the ball's in the most vulnerable position, he's just there like, thank you.
I'm going to throw up something interesting to you here, because as we're talking about, and rightly so, we're raving about the performance of this defensive line. And as we say on this podcast at times, it's an indicator of how bad the defensive line is if a linebacker is leading the team in tackles. Jordan Brooks this week led the team in tackles again, 7 tackles, 1 assist. Is it a case of just Jordan Brooks being very good at tackling? Yeah.
He's just a monster. That's all he is. The guy is a monster. I don't give a shit. I said it last year, I say it this year. He might not get them all. No one's perfect. No one gets them all. Not the best, not the greatest get them all. But he is, and has been since he's come in, our best open field tackler. Our best open field tackle.
Like he missed the one. I think did he miss one on Kieran Allen or Eckler against it? But that was it, wasn't it? That was the only one.
Up at the line. Yeah. Up. It was just on the line, and he was the first man to. And it was just simple as Eckler got out in space. As his stats showed, he didn't do anything with the ball in his hands. He had to get all the dump offs. But Eckler is a dangerous football player when he has them little dump offs, and he's got a bit of time to get that little bit of leverage to then wiggle. Yeah. Like that's his beauty at the end of the day. You're taking a picture of me again in the worst possible point. It does it every time.
I'm doing it for the social media. I can't help it that you don't
I
smile that much.
know, I know.
This is what happens when you're a
Oh, like-
social media dictator, mate. All you do is just take really shit pictures of your mates.
It's like a school photo. Smiles.
There you go.
A school photo.
Yeah, James looks like a chipmunk, but Ches looks.
Because when I'm talking, I get
Pez
so
looks like a
passionate,
serial
and I'm
killer.
like,
With his cap.
that's
and
what
his
my wife
beard,
tells me all the time when she wakes up next to me. She goes, is your name Ted Bundy? Have you got it changed or what?
Wow.
Brilliant. Fantastic. How have we got to Ted Bundy? Who's Cody Barton?
No, his name.
Can't even really complain about him this week. Didn't really do anything. Didn't do anything impressive from what I remember, but didn't
do anything of note.
Didn't do anything of note. But in that same sense, he didn't play badly. I don't think, did he?
Do you know what the thing is? He must not have played badly because I didn't see him or hear his name.
That's what I mean. Yeah, he was just.
And I was surprised. He was on the field like 47%.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the field for 47% of the time. But the telling point is, Kobe Bryant was on the field nearly 100% of that game.
Yeah.
And we're going to get onto him, so I'm not going to end up like switching it up. But doesn't it tell?
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those. Cody Barton, as much as we've dissed him for a while, and we said this as well, he needs his role completely stripping back to the bare bones of shoot that gap, do this one job. Yeah, that's literally all he needs, and that's all he's been getting. So it seems like this is where we can hold our heads a bit high in the fact that we realise this, and we showed it as well as those Brits who people don't think know football. You can tell the type of player he is by how confused he's been getting with the multitude of tasks and looks that he has to give at that inside linebacker spot. When it's just a matter of go in there, pin your ears back, hit the A, or maybe not the B gap, but like hit one of the gaps, and then just go after the quarterback or disrupt the tight ends, anything like that, then he does a good job. Just don't overload him. And this is where I think, and Pez has hit the nail on the head this with Kobe Bryant. He's a very cerebral player. He's intelligent. He improves. You can have Kobe on the field for longer, being just as effective because he can read the game better, and he's an intelligent young man. And I think the Seahawks have finally figured it out. I think Loafer said by game 7 we would have figured it out. Well, lads, we're here.
Looks like we have. We're here, and we figured it out. Should we get to these corners? We're on them.
I'll leave it to you guys. There's no point me interjecting here. You two are going to gush. So,
who wants to start, Pez? Do you want to start with your boy, or should we go with my boy?
Do you want to leave Woolen to the end, or do you want to just get Kobe out of the way?
You get Kobe out of the way.
That was the exact same thing, Pez. Woolen at the end will get Kobe out of the way. It means Kobe goes first regardless.
No, I want to give James his proper. I want to put myself on mute, sit back, drink my Fanta Zero, and just listen to James.
Literally, I've just topped up my beer. I've just topped up my vape. I'm going to press mute, sit back, and just watch James, and then yourself gush, and then I'll come in and do my social media sponsorship bit, and then crack on.
Fantastic! You can put your feet up for this part of the pod, don't you? What you're saying to me, Pez, is I can start. So I'll start with Tariq Woolen. Not his best game. Oh, sorry, I forgot his intro. Tariq Woolen. Not his best game.
Tariq Woolen.
That looked a bit dodgy on your webcam. Were you supposed to do? All right, it was an Inuit. Lovely, fantastic. You can stop now. Tariq Woolen. I mean, shocking performance this week, wasn't it? He didn't get an interception. I mean, come on, what's he playing at? No, in all seriousness, not his best performance yet. But at the standards he's set, I mean, it's going to take a monster performance to beat some of his performances already, which could be coming. Two interceptions for Patrick Mahomes, and we bookmarked that, so that might overtake it. But again, just excellent. Again, as Pez alluded to at the start of the podcast, showed other sides to his game other than just being a ball hawk, picking the ball off. Excellent coverage all game. I mean, I'm going to have a look at some of the Chargers receiving stats. I know Keenan Allen was banged up during the game and coming into the game, so he wasn't fully healthy. But I mean, Mike Williams, 86 yards before he got off injured. Gerald Everett, Keenan Allen, 11 yards. I mean, Austin Eckler was their leading receiving yardage with 96 yards. So it's just excellent coverage against excellent NFL players. He's just unbelievable. I can't. It's like Geno Smith. I'm just running out of things to say at this point about him that I haven't already said without being repetitive. The man just gets me up and excited, and he saves me from buying a blue pill every week and popping a blue. That's all there is to be said. And the amount of money that I'm spending on underwear, the amount of underwear that I'm going through. Next must love me.
Please stop. Just stop.
No, you said
Stop.
I could have this bit. Next must love me, because the amount of, Santa's going to be delivering nothing but underwear sets down my chimney this year because I'm in need of them already. It's just unbelievable, this kid. Nothing special on the stats this week, but the man is just an absolute monster. Should we get to Kobe Bryant?
Please, for the love of God, please, Pez.
He's not going to be any better.
He's not going to talk about
Do you know
dirty
what,
in
right?
his drawers, mate.
You don't know.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? You disrespected Tariq. What wasn't his best game?
It wasn't.
It was.
You think that was his best game?
Side down.
Why?
He locked his side down.
Interception.
He locked his side down.
Yeah, he
He
did.
didn't have an interception. So what? He had one in his hand, James.
He did, but
He bounced off his hand.
He's been locking his side down all season, though, hasn't he?
Right. No, not like this. Not like today.
All right, okay.
Not like today. Not where it was evident. Herbert tried him. Herbert tried him multiple times, and so when I say lockdown in the last couple of games, in some of the games, it's been like he's used his speed to catch up with a receiver who's done him.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think that's what Jordan Brooks alluded to, where he's just going off talent because he's getting beat on his route, but because he's so freaking quick, like he's there before the ball is there. But this game, he was sticky. He was like he was. We all love the comparison to Richard Sherman. He was like Richard Sherman in coverage. He was sticky. That's what I wanted to see out of it. There's going to become a time when you become up against like a DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, who can burn you like a Doug Baldwin-esque player, who can put you on a string and use your advantages as your disadvantages. But like Tariq Woolen getting burnt on a route, using his speed to try and catch up, and then they toe in the ground, turn, and then he's still running because he's going so fast to catch up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right, Pez, do you want to talk about your man Kobe Bryant? I've had my little gush fest over Tariq. Do you want to get onto Kobe?
Yeah, mate. I thought he had a solid performance. That interception, man. I said it in my positive section that I felt it's coming, and if Nwosu, like our star on the D line, what was it? He jumped too early. If he didn't do that, man. But do you know what's exciting is Tariq and Kobe's like chemistry to getting together. Like they both spoke about it. Like saying over the weeks they've got closer. They're doing things out of the facility together. They're hanging around like just generally as mates, and they're starting to understand and like get to know how each other work. And the tip drill, man. If anyone's getting excited over comparing this to the Legion of Boom and stuff, the tip drill's there. Tariq's like, nah, Kobe, you know, mate. I did try and actually intercept that, but technically, I was trying to give you one as well. Because let's face it, if he could have got it for himself, he was getting it. But we'll take the tip drill and get excited and get carried away with it. But I think Kobe had a solid game. I think I spotted a couple of things on coverage where he got a bit lost. Him and Maffei were in like no man's land. and there was a receiver just wide open on the line, like got an easy catch, and them two were in no man's land. And I can only imagine, as Kobe being the secondary nickel, it should have been his guy who was tracking, because he came from one side of the field to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Kobe should have probably tracked with him, because I'm not expecting Maffei to start tracking fucking receivers from one side to the other. But other than that, I can't remember much he put wrong. He's solid tackling
TFL
again
as well. Don't forget his tackle for loss. That was like a 6-yard tackle for loss. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, just shot through. Jesus, I need to 1 minute. I just need a moment to shout at myself, as if I forgot that. As if I forgot that. Fucking.
No, yeah, I say I thought he was excellent as well. Another player I thought was absolutely excellent and deserves a big shout out, Ryan Neal. 4 passes defended, 7 tackles, 1 interception. Apparently, he was also incredibly ill before the game, according to Pete Carroll. Apparently, he was needing intravenous fluids to even get to the game and make the game. And you wouldn't have thought it, because the guy, for me, that was his best performance in a Seahawks uniform.
It's pretty concerning as well, isn't it? Like, how ill were you? Oh, I needed an IV for fluids. Okay, it's not like I needed like a Diorolite or a bloody Lucozade, and I was fine.
But even after all that, Ryan Neal had the 3rd best PFF grade of any player in the NFL this week. Not just defensive, any player in the NFL. I mean, his coverage downfield was excellent. Was it towards Keenan Allen where he batted it away in the end zone on the coverage? I mean, like we've said on this podcast, you especially, Josh, that Ryan Neal is an excellent player. And again, for my money, that was his best performance in the Seahawks uniform. I don't know what you thought, Josh.
Single-handedly won me my Seahawks fantasy team.
There you go.
Matchup this week with 30-odd points. That he was just, and I've said this for a long time, he is a great player. He's very unfortunate in the fact that he's behind Jamal Adams in the pecking order. When you pay that much money for Jamal, you're not going to bench him. You unless you move him to linebacker. Just saying, we've banged this drum for long enough. I know I have. We need to keep Ryan Neal there as a heavy rotational piece. But I think when his deal comes up, then there are going to be people that be looking at his performance and going, "We need a starting strong safety," and he will jump at the chance. And regardless of where he goes with his big playability and I think just his general mindset, he will make an impact. I hope it doesn't happen, because I'd love to see Ryan Neal stay with us, because I think he just brings so much to this squad every time he plays, every single time. But yeah, really impressed by him this week. Really impressed.
I personally think that this game showed how much Ryan Neal's improved in coverage. I think he was our best player. I think coverage, anything, like shooting through gap, like this game, he was the standout by far on that defense for me. He was doing everything. Coverage. What was it in the corner of the end zone where he broke it up? Like the Ryan Neal of 2 years ago. He's letting that go. He's letting that go, and he's well beat. Like easy touchdown for the team. Everyone's like, "Oh, fucking Ryan Neal's not good in coverage." But honestly, this season, man, he's like I've said in the past, he's. Would you like to say, like, on talent-wise or name value, he's a poor man's Jamal Adams, but I will take a poor man's Jamal Adams every single week playing the way he's playing at the moment, because the 4 pass breakups by Ryan Neal against the Chargers, 4 pass breakups, coverage, 4 pass breakups. So this, like, people saying that he's not that good in pass coverage.
Yeah.
You don't get 4 pass breakups if you're not that good in pass coverage, or you've not improved your pass coverage skills. Was the second most in a single game this season, only second to Darius Slay with 5 against Minnesota in week 2. So he had 7 tackles, 1 interception, and 4 pass breakup, pass defense. And I just think if he can just do half of 3/4 of what he did in that game for the rest of the season, then you're looking at him, and like Josh rightly said, you're looking at him and going, "Ooh, shit, we're not keeping hold of him." Because if he carries on the way he's going, they better pay him this season, or else he'll be out of here. He'll be long gone.
Yeah, and we talked about it on this podcast as well, about potentially needing a safety in the draft. could always re-sign Ryan Neal, and he might not need to target the safety. It's just a thought.
And you know what? He's such a down-to-earth fella, like listening to him talk in his interviews and stuff, and like his story. He was going to quit football. He's got like a side hustle before football. During football, because he just thought he was never going to make it. He had his backup plans. Then the Seahawks came along. He got his lucky chance, undrafted lucky chance, because when Jamal first went down and started making a name for himself. And then next minute he's like getting money and he's getting paid and he's getting the attention and things like that. So even if you try to resign him, I don't think he'd even be greedy. I don't think he's happy playing football, because of where he was to where he is now. I genuinely think he'd be the type of fella who would sign a club-friendly deal because he just wants to win football and he wants to play football. That's how he comes across on the field to me. He's like I always say, like a dog. He's like the definition of what people call a dog on the field.
Yeah.
That he comes with energy, velocity, like aggression, everything you want to see. And big standout for me so far in this defense. In the last three, week 7 now, so I'd say about the last 3 weeks. He's just before the turn on the defense, he was the standout. He was the one who you were looking at, like the Falcons maybe, and you're like, he stands out. The defense is shite, but Ryan Neal stands out positively. And then it's just grown as the defense has got better, and he's just that piece what will blend together. We spoke about it. I spoke on Twitter about it with a guy saying Kobe and Tariq's chemistry. Them two are getting this bond together, and you can see Ryan Neal just joining them two because he's got the energy, and then that will hopefully uplift Diggs because Diggs will get more confidence in the younger guys, and then is Michael Jackson the answer on the other corner spot? Personally, I don't think so. But like some people have said, he's serviceable. So yeah, it's exciting secondary. Exciting secondary.
Yeah, awesome, man. So big shout out to the Rhino. Before we get to the community questions, quick little prediction from us. Can we win the NFC West now at 4-3?
Yeah.
You think we can?
I'm completely going against our hot takes and our predictions for the season because, let's face it, everyone. I don't think it was unless you were one of those die-hard. The Seahawks will win every game, people. The Seahawks have surprised everyone in the league. Let's face it. There is no way anyone in this league. When actually, I think the Seahawks could be 4-3 by week 7. Or by the end of week 7, and they could pull off some decent wins. Geno Smith be playing like an MVP, comeback player of the year candidate, and everything. Yeah. I think it's possible. I think the San Francisco 49ers, even though they just traded for Christian McCaffrey, they've still got Jimmy G as a quarterback, and he's limited.
Yeah.
The Rams have got a massive Super Bowl hangover, and the Cards are just the Cards.
Yeah, flattered to deceive them lot. Cliff Kingsbury's got to be gone by the end of the season, I think. Pez, can we win the NFC West, mate?
Yeah. We
can.
At this moment in time, do you know what I'm pissed about? That we have to face the Rams later in the year. Because if anything's going to happen with that Rams team, if they aren't just in the Super Bowl funk, is they're going to switch on later. And then we've got them pretty much... we've got them both times in the backwater.
Yeah,
like we're playing the Cardinals at the greatest possible point because the whole start of Kyler with D-Hop, he kind of proved it this weekend. He's come back. Kyler's looked a bit like himself. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't missed a single beat. So, but they're still exposable because they just turned into a slugfest. So to get them out of the way so quickly before they might get hot will play massively in our advantage, for the tiebreaker and things, but definitely the shape of this NFC at the moment will do them fucking dirty Niners as well when we play them again. They're shite.
Well, yes, I think we can win the NFC West as well. Before we get to the community questions and then end with positive Pez, Josh, do you want to shout out our longest standing sponsor?
I certainly do. Blessed CBD still with us. Big thank you to every one of our listeners and watchers, if you're a YouTuber, for ordering from Blessed CBD. You're helping our pod. Unfortunately, it can't help with Pez's internet connection. That's just Preston in the northwest of England going down into a black hole. But yeah, blessedcbd.co.uk. If you have issues with one thing I keep forgetting to mention, sleep. Sleep is a massive thing, and a lot of people have trouble sleeping due to general day-to-day anxieties and stresses. CBD at night before you sleep can help you massively. I had a massive trouble with waking up, checking on my daughter through anxiety, and I started taking CBD and got a solid 8 hours sleep, even with my other half poking me in the back for snoring. So I might not be able to help you with snoring, but sleeping it can. And as I said, things like anxiety can help you with your physical recovery as well. It's got such a plethora of benefits. All you need to do, go to blessedcbd.co.uk, search through any of their products, and when you come to checkout, just use our code SEAHAWK, SEAHAWK at checkout. You'll get 10% off your order, and you'll be helping out the pod massively. So again, thank you to everyone that's already been on there. You are helping out the pod. We will at some point be getting Pez an internet connection that isn't dial-up.
Yes.
But that's more down to Preston rather than Pez himself. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Right, let's get to these community questions. Josh, do you want to start? I know you got one in from your brother, which is quite a good question.
I did. So shout out to Harry Stevens, good old Hazard. He has said, how do you think we adapt our offense with the loss of DK? And this also leads in very well to another question we had from our friend of the pod, Sai Wachira. After an impressive 2 touchdown performance by Marquise Goodwin, has he earned a place in the offense? I personally think that question from Sai answers Harry's question. What are we going to do if DK goes down? Then it becomes the Tyler Lockett and Marquise Goodwin show, with a third place for Eskeridge, possibly, if he can stop with the silly concentration lapses and dropping the ball when it's handed to him, or we give it to one of our other receivers.
Derek Young is a good option, I think.
Yeah,
he's like
Young,
DK Metcalf, isn't he? So
DK clone. We said this before. When you look at all the wide receivers that are there, they can all slot in for each other. I think Derek Young's a fantastic option. I'd love to see what he can do. I mean, we said this. I think Pez said it on our Discord during the game. It'd just be good because then you can see you've still got Tyler, you've still got Marquise as a third wide receiver. You just slot Derek Young in there straight away as a light for light replacement as DK. See what he's got. He's going to draw some attention due to his size and his physical characteristics. And you've got all of our tight ends as well. I'm not massively concerned about it just due to the way that Geno's been playing. He's not just been focusing on DK or Tyler. He's been spreading that ball about so much. So I think we'll adapt. I think Marquise Goodwin, after that display, has earned more time and more targets. It's just how Waldman's going to draw it up. So it's going to be the ball's still going to be spread around. The wide receivers will be a big part. The tight ends will still be a massive part of our game, and the run game will help free all that up.
What do you think, Pez? Is Derek Young the solution if DK is out for a week or two, or perhaps a bit longer?
I said it during the game, like a bit jokingly, saying Derek touchdown time. I could see the fact that he was getting snaps and he was out there running routes. I could see them using him as a decoy because he's got the speed, he's got the body of DK. I could see them using as a bit of a deep threat decoy. Do you know, a bit like send him on DK's routes and make the defense, and then it's kind of like a win-win because you either make the defense respect him because of his speed, but then if they don't respect him, he's going to be wide open, or he's going to be playing a corner with like sloppy concentration, and Geno will go for that. He's proved it with Goodwin this game. Like, he won't be scared going to Derek Young. And he's got all, like, obviously quality-wise, we don't know, but he's got all the attributes to say he could be a threat. He could be a real rabbit out of the hat kind of thing, like, who's this guy? And then a bit like, it reminds me a bit of the Paul Richardson-esque fella. Ricardo Lockett, he could turn into that kind of player. Doesn't really get much notice by the defense, but then still ends up burning them on goal balls and stuff like that. So, yeah, but I'm not even concerned about DK yet. Like, I saw Ryan Neal came out and said at halftime, DK's smiling. He's like, I'm fine. It just didn't feel right. What makes me believe it, because it's a patella tendon in it, so it made me believe that maybe it's just flared up like a swollen. So
pure impact was playing on that field.
Yeah.
So far it's a field of nightmares.
So I reckon against the Giants, he'll suit up. I reckon he'll suit up this week, but he won't. It'll be essentially like if the game looks like it's getting away from us, we'll put DK on, because that kind of thing can essentially fuck a defense up, can't it? You think DK's there, he doesn't go there, and then you put him on halfway through a game when they're a bit tired, they're a bit more used to the wide receivers that got in front of him, and then he comes and just starts bodying people. I can't see him keeping him off the field, to be quite honest. He said he wants to train. He wants to be training on Wednesday. Like, in his head, he's training Wednesday, but they're like, we're going to have to persuade him to
every
just
sportsman's head, you can break your leg and be like, I'll be back next month. No, you won't, son.
Yeah.
Well, like, this is all a matter of its longevity as well. Like, if we think that we can go into next week without DK and still win, Pete might just go, I'm going to give you another week, mate. Like, that's the thing. It's the sportsman's mindset as opposed to the coach's mindset, because the coach's mindset is about winning that game with the team, and a sportsman's mindset is about playing in that game as an individual, but part of a team to help win. So the coach has always got the better viewpoint on it. And I understand DK is a massive competitor, so I can completely get on board with him going, I will train this week, I will play. But in the long run, the last thing you want to do is get him back at 60% for him then to play and injure himself again and go down to 30%. You'd rather him get all the way back up to 100 and then play and hopefully start lighting things up again.
Yeah. Any more community questions in, boys?
We did. We had, again, friend of the show, Ledia Hamati. Thank you very much for coming with so many good questions every single week. I'll paraphrase this. But at what point should Seattle think about renewing Geno? He said, I know a lot of people say he's too old and we shouldn't build around him, but he is younger than Russ, and it fits great with what Seattle wants to do. His suggestions may be a 3-year, $55 million with $30 million guaranteed. It still gives us room to draft someone else with the option of moving on from him without the big cap hit, but at least we don't have to take one first round.
Do it,
James?
Do it now. Sit down in the bye week. Get him signed now. It takes the pressure off in the draft. It allows you to be more open in the draft, and he's earned it. And you can now play. If you want to lean on Geno, we said it in this pod as well. You want to lean on Geno for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whilst you develop a rookie that you'd maybe take this year or the following year, whatever. Geno's done enough this year to. Put it this way, if we don't tie him down, someone else will. He's going to be a starter now in the NFL. So we may as well have him here, keep him here, and do it now. Geno will sign that contract the minute it's put. If it's right and everything, and if it's a respectful contract, Geno will put pen to paper as soon as we hand it to him. He'll be here. He wants to be here. He's earned this opportunity. So do it now. Don't let it rumble into the off season. Just get it sorted now.
I mean, I think it's been addressed on other pods as well, where it's a matter of the quicker you get it done, the better it's going to be for us. Because the longer the season goes on, and if his performances carry on this upward trajectory, he is going to be so expensive in the off-season. Imagine if he starts getting into the MVP conversation or the don't call it a comeback player of the year award, then it's going to get to the off-season, and he's going to be commanding at least another $10 million a year.
Yeah.
Like you said, get it done now, get him locked in, draft someone, whether it's the first round, second round, depends how it falls. Have them sit behind him for the length of Geno's contract. Even if in the last year of Geno's contract, if he starts falling off halfway through the season, you can bring that rookie on who's learned from Geno, learned from the organisation, and then can start bringing us forward. I'm completely with you there, James. Pez, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think we don't have the luxury of letting him leave because we don't know what Drew Lock is. Clearly, he isn't anything because he's not got a sniff on Geno, really, has he? He's not closed the gap. Geno's just blew him out of the water, took it away. So what do? You let Geno walk and then roll with Drew, and then let a rookie quarterback learn behind Drew. No, realistic.
Or do you re-sign Geno and then sign Drew to a longer-term deal, let him sit behind Geno and learn more?
No.
That was something I heard addressed earlier in a podcast, and I thought, if you can get him on a backup contract, he was highly drafted, he was highly touted. People wanted Drew Lock, but he's just been thrust straight into the limelight without anyone to learn behind. So maybe that opportunity to learn behind a veteran like Geno, who's been a backup for so long, could be beneficial. And it means we may not have to. Depends on who's available for us, doesn't it?
With that, my personal feeling on it is just look at Russ now in Denver. Denver is like a graveyard for quarterbacks. These quarterbacks don't have time to develop in Denver because Denver are always that quarterback away from being a dynasty team for the Patriots years. We're just the quarterback away from being the best team in the NFL. So Drew, in my opinion, the reason why Drew, taking the sample what we've got now, I personally think the reason why Drew didn't get anywhere near, and obviously our opinions were different in the preseason, like a lot of people's were, because of our personal opinions on Geno, and we're all fucking wrong. But there's a reason he didn't beat Geno out, and I just think it's because his development has been so stunted by being in Denver and them just being like, no, you need to be ready to go now, and if you're not ready to go now, then you're just going to sit on the shit heap. And then until you fizzle out, burn out, and you either get lucky enough to get to another team and maybe show something. But all his years of, I think, coaching and development, getting all these negatives out of his system have literally been burnt away because of being stuck in Denver for so long. So I personally would say, you're going to take a quarterback in the trade. That quarterback didn't turn out. The one we've always had has. So get rid of Drew, get a rookie quarterback in, one of them project pieces like we spoke about, like Anthony Richardson, unrealistic. A team's just going to jump on him expecting to be the be-all or end-all straight away. But there's a quarterback called Hall. I can't remember where he plays for. I can't remember his first name. I'm not really... I've just seen him play a couple of times. I've seen him talk about on some of the college pages where he's got a lot of potential. He's a bit raw. You get a guy like that in, get him to play behind Geno, who essentially is the ultimate professional. He's a team guy. He has all them things going for him. And you get him to learn under Geno. And you try and get Geno down now to a cheaper contract for a couple of years before he blows too far up. And then you just can't resign him. And then you're in a bit of a no man's land with quarterback because it's like, we've got to roll with Drew Lock, whether we like it or not. And then we realise that Drew Lock's never changed since he's come out of college because of all the things I've mentioned.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate in terms of how long do we leave it until we re-sign Geno. I will be following that one closely, whether it gets done in the next couple of weeks or whether they leave it to the off season. We will see. But thank you all very much for sending those questions. If we didn't get to yours, we do apologise. We will hope to get to yours in following weeks. So please do keep sending them in. Right. What, Pez?
Sorry, 1 minute. Last minute tweet question, and it's funny. Kev Cassidy, my biggest question of this season so far is what the fuck is going on? I got to read that out. He's coming at the last minute.
Was it Kev or Ken? Sorry.
Kev,
I'm with you, mate. I haven't got a clue, so I don't have an answer for that, mate. We're all in the same boat. None of us know what's happening. Positive Pez. Positive
Positive
Pez.
Pez.
What are you
What are you
positive about this week?
This week?
And nearly there, Josh.
Oh,
Nearly
here we
there.
go.
Josh was late and sounded creepy as hell. I'm making sure all my windows and doors are locked tonight.
In all
Oh,
fairness,
my-
my throat is absolutely fucked. So I'm still recovering from my cold. So I basically sound like someone's creepy old uncle trying to sing him a lullaby. You're welcome, listeners.
Come on then, Pez. What are you positive about, mate?
Because Kev got in at the last minute, I'm going to free ball this is first bit. Well, free ball all of it every week if the listeners don't
So you
realise
sound
that
like you prepare. We all know that's a lie.
I'm just getting better at it. So, what the fuck is going on, Kev? It's greatness. That's what's going on. And it kind of hurts my soul to say it because it means I'm kind of Pete Carroll did he know what he was doing? So I don't know. But I think it's a greatness in this team overall by the end of the year. It might not be this year, but definitely there. But for the next week, on to here and now, for the next week, it's like a broken record because I want to mention Ken all the time, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go back, right? Don't worry, Josh, I'm going to know. Do not worry about me. So I did it with Ken and it worked out. So I'm going to keep my Kobe one in. Daniel Jones isn't scared of chucking that thing. And Kobe, what do I always say about him? He has a taste of it and only gets better. His pick's coming this week. And I think this game is going to be all about the running backs. It's going to be Ken Walker versus Saquon Barkley. And they're both going to go off because we showed that we couldn't stop Austin Eckler. So Barkley will get exactly the same style of usage. But Ken is going to overall have the better game. I think he's going to outscore him in all statistical measurables. I think he's going to go again.
No pressure.
He's going to have another double. He's going to have another double. He's going to have another double touchdown week, and he's going to beat Saquon Barkley out to just put his little hat on the top coat hanger and go. Now will notice me. That's it. Kobe's going to get an interception this week. It's going to happen this week because Daniel Jones is 2-3 with the football. I think we're going to be aggressive again, get up, make Daniel Jones move off the spot, get all that pressure like we have been doing. He's going to get typical Daniel Jones and start launching it all over the gaff. Kobe's going to get his first interception.
I like it.
Ken Walker's going to go up against Saquon and beat him in all statistical measurables and get 2 touchdowns whilst he's at it. And I'm going to chuck, because DK isn't going to play this week, right? Even though I think he is, but let's just say, like Josh said, there's some common sense there. We've got a few harder matchups where we're going to need a fresh DK, not a 50% DK. So I'm going to say the standout wide receiver in this game is going to be Derek Young.
It is prescription Pez again. He's back.
But I was so close, guys. I said about the Eskridge in the backfield. It's just the fact that the kid's brain's 2 steps ahead of his body and couldn't catch the football, because that would have been the start of something beautiful. If he caught that football and didn't fumble it and ran on the outside and then ran for like 6 yards, breaking tackles with his speed, and everyone's like, oh, that's what we got to do from now on. But now Pete's going to look at it and go, maybe we're not. So fucking close with that. It pissed me off. Idiot. But anyway, Derek Young. And I don't mean he's going to be like sensational. I'm not senile yet. I just think, he's going to be the standout because he's going to start getting more balls. He's going to get more targets. He's going to get more receptions. And because no one knows who he is, like I said, he's like Paul Richardson and Ricardo Lockett. And how useful were they in them years? Sometimes
Okay.
they were a standout receiver to go for, and you wouldn't really pick them. But that I'm predicting DK. This is only if DK sits. If DK sits, Derek Young. Just watch out.
Okay. As every week, I hope everyone has got those lovely points from Pez noted down, and of course put money on it if you feel free. But gamble at your own risk with positive Pez. Although he did get a Marquise Goodwin 7-1 touchdown anytime scorer this week, which I'm sure he's happy with. Yeah. I don't know how he pulled that one off, but fair play to you.
Deep
I go for
pockets,
the
mate. That's what
wild.
it is.
I go. No, but he was an accumulator. I said in the Discord, they're like, "Oh, how much?" But he's an accumulator, and do you know what? I'm so pissed because I got too overconfident with the big outsider. I thought, do you know what? I fancy Goodwin to start showing himself. It was Eskridge or Goodwin. They were both around the same price. I was like, and then I thought, I reckon the Jets in their matchup. I reckon Barrios is going to turn up. Zach Wilson targeted him a lot last year. Yeah, that went down the pan straight away, didn't it?
Fair play to you, mate.
George Pickens. I had him. Bloody Jets.
Fair play to you, mate. But as always, look, thank you to you two boys. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, sent your questions in. As always, thank you all for listening. We really do appreciate you over here. Yeah, man, this team, keep on rolling, boys. Keep on rolling. Super Bowl, here we come. I tell you what, could it be 5-3? 5-3 this week against the Giants. Oh my word. We may well implode at some point.
Do you know what just a quick one, for the listeners to think, the Giants are the new Seahawks. It could be a bit of a warning, it might not be, but they're the new Seahawks. Like I think most of the wins are coming one-score games. And who does that remind you of? But is that something to be worried about? Or because we're the OG of one-score wins, are we going to show them how it's properly done?
We're going to show them how it's properly done, Pez. Josh, any final word, mate?
Find us on all social media now. We have a Facebook group. We're on Instagram as We Talk Seahawks UK, although that will soon be changed to We Talk Seahawks. Twitter is at We Talk Seahawks. And we've even got a TikTok as well because we are down with the kids. And again, that's We Talk Seahawks. Follow us, comment, like, feel free to DM us. We'll happily read out your questions and we'll talk to you whenever we get the chance as well. Absolutely.
And look out for the first We Talk to 12s episode coming this Friday with Captain Seahawk. I hope you all enjoy that one as well. And yeah, man, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.